Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie Bree, and today we're talking Nicktoons. Now, before I dig too deep into this, I know what you're thinking. Stephanie, you don't like cartoons. Also, did you already do a video on Nickelodeon? Yes, and also, yes. But here's the thing. I don't hate cartoons. When I say I don't like them, what I mean is I don't prefer them. Like, there are a lot more than you realize. Cartoons I do enjoy. Um, I really like a lot of cartoons, actually. I just would prefer some things, some stories told with real people. Um, so while I do enjoy a few cartoons here and there over the years, yes, I do prefer live action wherever possible. There are some cartoons that other people hold in high regard that I'm either dismissive of because I didn't enjoy them as much, or I'm indifferent to. It's just like, it's an animated show. I don't care about it. But there are also cartoons that I really enjoy. The Nicktoons are a special breed of cartoon that I have a very personal relationship with. So, the Nicktoons got their start, again, on Nickelodeon, which is why they're called Nicktoons, at the end of the 80s, 89, 1990, the late 80s, early 90s. You know, that transition period where Nickelodeon was becoming an adolescent TV network. You know, it was past its infancy, it was past its grade school years. Now it was like, all right, time for puberty. It was growing up as a network. Not quite ready for prom or to get a driver's license, but, it was ready to go to the spring fling or, the homecoming dance. It was ready for, to have a locker and, maybe sign up for some after school athletics. It was growing up, is what I'm trying to say. Trying new things. So in the early days, you had a handful of Nicktoons, some more successful than others. I'm not going to go through every Nicktoon ever produced, so, don't expect that. This is not an in depth documentary. I don't do those. It's just sort of a casual discussion based on my experiences and my knowledge base. Now, I was there from day one. uh, the early Nicktoons. Some of the early Nicktoons, you had Rugrats, which I'm gonna do a whole video on Rugrats. Don't worry about it. It is coming because I got a lot to say about Rugrats. A lot. Another one was called Doug. There was another one called Ah Real Monsters, and there were probably others. Later, you got Hey Arnold and Recess. A little bit later, you got the big one, which I've already done videos on, Square Bob. I fucking hate Square Bob, so we're gonna talk about it, but we're gonna brush it aside quickly because I really fucking hate that show. As far as I'm concerned, the day that show aired was the day Nicktoons died, and it never recovered. They have never produced an animated program since that I give two flying fucks about. So you can blame my distaste of cartoons, a lot of it on I don't even know what's it official. I don't even know what it's really called. SpongeBob. It hold on. SpongeBob SquarePants? Something stupid like that. I just call it SquareBob because I fucking hate it and I want it to be known I'm dismissive of it because I fucking hate it. There may have been other Nicktoons that I'm forgetting, and I apologize if I'm forgetting them. Uh, Let me know in the comments if there's an early Nicktoons in the Rugrats Doug era that I forgot. Because I'm sure there is. And before I get yelled at, yes, Ren and Stimpy, but I don't consider Ren and Stimpy a Nicktoon. That's sort of different. That's kind of an MTV cartoon that just aired on Nickelodeon. I know that's confusing, but it is what it is. So let's start at the beginning, but let's not dig too deep. You have Rugrats. Rugrats is basically, and I say basically because the show evolved over the years, a group of, we'll say, toddlers and infants who are exploring the world through baby eyes. They're children. The youngest one is a year or younger. The oldest one is like 3 years old. So they're like toddlers or infants. They're babies. They're children. They're little kids. Rugrats. You have Chucky, who is unfortunately named because he's a redhead who wears overalls, who looks strikingly similar to another redhead who wears overalls that's about 3 feet tall, who murders people, also named Chucky, from the Child's Play films. That's not necessarily a strike against the show. It could be a reference or it could just be a coincidence. I don't know. I don't know shit about the behind the scenes. That's not what this video is, and that's not my YouTube channel. You know this if you watch my videos. Sometimes I do this kind of stuff on my podcast, but I usually do that on my other channel for my horror podcast or my toy podcast because my knowledge of toys and horror movies is way more exhaustive than my knowledge of just about anything else outside of maybe religion and um, history, which I don't like to talk history or religion on this channel too much because I know as a pagan I'm going to offend people. And as a queer person, my perspective of history is not going to line up with most people's um, version of history because you've been lied to by your school teachers. But anyways, um, the other character is Tommy Pickles. He's the infant. He's a little bald baby, wears a diaper, and that's it. Nothing else, no clothes. You got the twins, Phil and Lil, who are my favorite characters of the show. I fucking love Phil and Lil. And not just because they eat dirt, and I used to eat dirt, but because they're hilarious. They're like, you know, they're just awesome characters. I just love them. Then you've got Angelica, who is the older child. I say older. She's probably maybe 4, maybe 5. She's not old, but she's older, and she's forced to hang out with what she calls the babies. So she picks on the babies because she's got a little bit more life experience. You know, like she's got a nickel's worth of life experience, and they've got like a fraction of a penny's worth. You know, not like a quarter or anything like that. So she's got just a little bit of life, but she's got enough more life experience than they do that she uses that to her advantage to make fun of them or take advantage of them or to just have fun with them. Now, some would argue Angelica is a bully, but I don't see it that way. I see Angelica as kind of misunderstood. She's a character that, is forced to hang out with kids that are developmentally beneath her. They're way younger than her, and she has nothing in common with them. And so she's like doing what she can. She's like, oh my God, I have to babysit, even though she's not really babysitting. She's like, she feels like she is, even though she's also a baby, a child. Later on, you get additional characters, but we're not getting into that right now. And then you have the adults who I'm not going to identify because I don't remember their names. You got Grandpa, you got Mom and Dad. Chucky's got a dad. The twins have a mom and dad. They're inconsequential. They're just sort of there. They're set dressing. They're not characters. Sometimes they have, you know, relevance to the story, but you're there for the babies, the kids. A lot of the show is the babies how they see the world. So you see like what it really is, and then you see through the baby's eyes how they see it. So you get a lot of dual interpretation of things, which I think is fun. It helps make the show fun. Then you have Doug. Now the best way to describe Doug is it's an animated Saved by the Bell. Is basically what it is. You got a group of teenagers in school. You got the bully. You got the band geek. You got the dreamy kid, you got the love interest, etc. You know, it's Saved by the Bell, and it's sitcom antics. It's a sitcom in animated form. Is basically what it is. You have Doug Funny and his older sister. Doug is sort of the writer type, dreamy kid. He's got a friend named Mosquito, who they call Skeeter, who I guess is some kind of mutant or alien or something. But he's the allegory for the foreigner, the kid who isn't, the white kid, basically. Um, you have the bully, who I forgot his name, and then you have the love interest, who's Patty Mayonnaise, and then you've got some of the adults, but again, they're inconsequential. And then you got the older sister, who I don't remember her name either. I haven't seen any of these shows since I was a kid, mind you. The older sister is the emo, artsy type stereotype. You know, antsy, artsy teenager, very emotional, over dramatic. A lot of your Doug storylines are, like I said, it's Saved by the Bell. So it's basically, if you've seen Saved by the Bell, you've seen Doug. It's the same goddamn show. It's the same thing. It's the same storylines. And it is. It's literally the same exact storylines. If they've done it on Saved by the Bell, they did it on Doug. Now I don't know which show came first, so maybe Saved by the Bell is a live action Doug. I don't know. Now, you also have Aw, Real Monsters, which I do not remember anything about at all. I played the Sega Genesis video game. Um, you have three monsters, and I guess from what I remember, they're in monster school learning how to be scary. But that's all I remember. I don't remember the names. I don't remember what they look like. I can't picture them in my head. I just remember watching it as a kid and playing the Sega Genesis game, and that's all I remember. I remember nothing else. Um, you have Recess, which I didn't fucking watch. My sister did, my little sister did, but I was already aging out of the Nicktoons demographic when Recess came along. So I was already upgraded to Power Rangers, Saved by the Bell, you know, California Dreams, and eyeballing Friends and Seinfeld, but not ready to commit to those adult shows yet, but I was almost there. I was getting there. And then you have Hey Arnold. Um, I couldn't tell you if Hey Arnold came on TV or Recess came on TV. I couldn't tell you which is which. I couldn't tell you. I just know the names. I know Recess is called Recess and Hey Arnold is called Hey Arnold. And as far as I'm concerned, in my brain, they're the same fucking show. I couldn't tell you the difference. You had some other Nicktoons, which I don't remember. And then you have the goddamn dragon, the fucking elephant in the room. SpongeBob SquarePants, I think is what it's called. The other animated shows at the time, I don't know if they were Nicktoons or Cartoon Network. Um, so I'm not going to talk about them if I'm not sure, because Cartoon Network is a totally different discussion. Um, that would be stuff like Cat Dog. I've already mentioned Ren and Stimpy, but that's going to get its own video. Um, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure what else is there. I know Cat Dog, but I don't know if that was a Nicktoon or not. I can't remember. I know there's Ed and Eddie, but I'm pretty sure that's Cartoon Network. There was Dexter's Laboratory, but I know that was Cartoon Network. Powerpuff Girls was Cartoon Network. So I think that's all the Nicktoons I can remember. Now I'm sure there's probably like others, probably a bunch of others that I either forgot or didn't know about. So my experience with Nicktoons, like I said, they started in 1989, I believe, 89 or 90. Now, I was probably 7 or 8 years old when Nicktoons made their debut. So at that point in time, I was the target demographic. But like I said, I aged out pretty quickly. Um, by 92, I was 10 years old. I was really more into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, had been into Transformers, but that show had already come and gone. Um, Now, Generation 2 was on the airwaves, but that was just basically G1 repackaged. And there were other shows that I was watching, like X-Men, the animated series, Batman, the animated series, Spider-Man, stuff like that. So I was still watching cartoons at the time, but I was mostly, once Power Rangers came on the scene, that took over my world. And then I just sort of shifted to other Nickelodeon shows, like, Clarissa Explains It All, or, you know, uh, Hey Dude, or shows I've already talked about on the Nickelodeon video. Um, but I stopped watching Rugrats before the movie. I had already lost interest. Had already lost interest in Doug by the time it moved off of Nickelodeon over to ABC. Like I said, never watched Recess, never watched Hey Arnold, couldn't tell you which show was which. And the day that SpongeBob aired was the last time I ever watched a Nickelodeon produced cartoon because that show pissed me off so much. I hate that show so much that I was just like cold turkey over it. I was done. I was like, nope, I'm not watching another cartoon ever again, and I'm not watching another Nicktoon ever again. Um, and I'll probably do a video on SpongeBob maybe one of these days, but at this point, all I'm going to say is I fucking hate it, and I'm not talking about it here. Um, Other than, like I said, Rugrats and Doug, I don't have a lot of fond memories. Hello, thank you. I don't have a lot of fond memories of the Nicktoons because, like I said, I was already watching Clarissa. I was watching Double Dare. You can't do that on television. The more, I'm not gonna say adult shows, but like the live action, the people shows, not the cartoons. I had already moved on. I was done with. I was pretty much. I wasn't really into cartoons to begin with, so it was just like I enjoyed some of them, but by that time I was already over it. So I don't really have anything else to say. So, let me know which Nicktoons did I forget, and then maybe I'll do a part two if it's one of those like, oh shit, I forgot about that. And eventually I'll do a video on a full in-depth video on Rugrats. I'll do a whole in-depth video on Ren and Stimpy. And one of these days I'll get to SpongeBob. For right now, I'm so sick of it I don't want to talk about it. I don't even want to fucking think about it anymore.